you walk away this time? Do you realize, do you recognize it's never over? Or would you walk away this time? 'Cause we all face the fire as we search for the light in the dead of the night. Will we rise above the days to come? Will it be enough? Or will you walk away this time? Look to your left, to your right, there by your side. 'Cause we all face the fire as we search for the light in the dead of the night. Feel that rush through time. Can you feel this newfound change? Only yourselves are here again. If you had it all, but you looked the fall in the eye, could you walk away this time? Do you realize, do you recognize it's never over? 'Cause we all face the fire as we search for the light on the edge of the night.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to week 7 of Wintersplit here in Serenity Gaming for this best of 3 between Hillerød and Sphinx. Joining me today as my colour caster is Mr. Litzy. How you doing, man? Okay, and I think we might be getting some slight technical issues, but going into these teams then, Hillerød versus Sphinx, it seems like we're going to be having 2 changes to the Hillerød roster from the last time they played, which was against Chimera. Remember that 2-0 stomp where they played some interesting picks, especially that Karma top. So I'm really interested to see how Hillerød are going to play this today, and the 2 changes are, we're going to be seeing Hold My Fox in the mid lane replacing Shim, and Drake's replacing Viladsen in the bot lane. Moving on to Sphinx, do we know who's going to be? We don't know who's going to be their support yet. It could be Viggo or Birdie Zakira. And Litzy, are you with us yet? Beautiful. Joe, how are you feeling? Are you ready to colour cast this entire game? That's what I want to hear. 2 play-by-plays, more screaming, more shouting. I mean, at the end of the day, who wants to hear analysis? No, because as you mentioned, you're a Drake main. You're a Draven main, and Drake's plays Draven. So I'm sure you're excited to see some Draven. Good. So, it's always going to be about Hillerød because they played against Chimera, and I'm pretty sure you were producing for us in that game as well, and they were just so disgusting. It was disgusting, really. And I was going to ask Litzy, does he expect the same, or are we going to see another great pick and ban phase where they just take some really crazy champs like Vega ADC? Thanks to I feel like you're really sticking your neck out there with that pick. Can we have a bet riding on that, please? I'm just gonna bet Sphinx won't win 2-0. I feel that's like quite a cheap bet to go for anyway. But I'll run us through the Sphinx lineup. We're gonna have Chase Me Please as the top laner, Go Commit jungle in the jungle, Lil Uzi as your mid laner, Dombak will be playing as ADC, and then for support it's either going to be Vigo or Birdie Zakira, although we still don't have confirmation of who that's going to be. And time's running out for Sphinx. Yeah, and I think, I'm trying to remember, I think Dombak played Draven in that game. No, sorry, I'm thinking of Peter Perker. I don't know anymore. I'm confused. But, okay, we should be heading into game shortly. However, last time, I think it was Hillerød were late. They did miss out some of their bans. So, I think Sphinx, as it stands, will probably miss out 2 bans in pick bans, I think. I think so. I feel like Sphinx should just go into this. It should be a 4v5. That's it. If you're sort of, I mean, at the. Can we just tell Sphinx that I'm a support main? I'm happy to fill in for them. They just have to let me take Leona because otherwise I'm going to feed my ass off. So, yeah, it should be interesting anyway because Hillerød are currently sitting 3rd in the table on 9 points, whilst Sphinx are all the way down in 9th place with 4 points. And I think, Litzy, are you back with us now? No, I heard someone has disconnected and then reconnected. So yeah, so I think he might be having an issue with his mic or something. Yeah, but yeah, Sphinx currently in 9th place on 4 points, while Hillerød have 9 points are in 3rd, and a 2-0 clean sweep from Hillerød will see them get a guaranteed place in the playoffs. So a fair bit riding on this game for Hillerød. I think, wait, can we hear him? Can we hear him? Hey, it's Litzy. Yep. Great.
Yeah, TeamSpeak does that sometimes, I don't know.
And I guess we have to give a shout out for Joe. He's not the hero we deserve, but the hero we need.
Yeah.
Okay, right, Litzy, give me some info, give me some deets.
So yeah, we're going up Hillerød versus Sphinx today, which is going to be a pretty. We don't get to see Hillerød play a lot, partially because they don't always show up for their matches, but they have shown up for this one. Right now, they are sitting at 3rd place in the division so far. If like I said, if they had shown up for a little bit more, then they'd be higher up. And right now, Sphinx is tied for last place in the division. So Sphinx has a little bit of something to prove here. If they can pull out a win here, then that means that they're going to move the roster quite a bit and show that they're really, turning it around and going to be able to really do a lot better going forward. But if not, if they just sort of play Hillerød's game, then they're going to have a really, really rough time.
Yeah, and the next games for Sphinx are against Old Boys and Onyx. So Onyx will be a fairly tough match. Onyx currently top of the table, but against Old Boys, they should be able to pull out a win, which would be really important for their playoff run. While, as I was saying, Hillerød, if they can get that 2-0 clean sweep, they will go straight, guaranteed playoff space.
Which is, where you want to be at this point in the league. Once you're guaranteed, then, maybe then those are the matches that Hillerød cannot show up for after that. Once you have that spot, locked down that you want. So we're going to finally start the banning phase. So with Hillerød, a lot of these players are very, very flexible. A lot of these players, they're very high level. For Sphinx, we can look at some other players a little bit. For instance, Chase Me Please. He's the top laner for Sphinx. Plays a lot of Scion, Singed, and Urgot. Those are his big characters.
And Hillerød going to ban out that Ornn first. Now remember to Hillerød's last game against Chimera, where they just picked all flex picks and we had no idea where anyone was going. Do you reckon we're going to see the same again from Hillerød today, or maybe a more serious draft phase?
Probably what I'd expect to see is that the first game will be a very serious pick, and depending on how that game goes, then they might pull something like that. If they have a really easy time in the first game, then probably their next game is going to be where they do something like all flex picks.
And Sphinx don't have a ban in because they missed, they have arrived late to the lobby, as Hillerød will ban the Lucian. Now this is really important because you don't have the bans against Hillerød, and you really want to have your bans against Hillerød because they have a lot of players, a lot of champion picks that you should be scared of. And when I say this, I am referring specifically to Right Hunt's Kindred pick.
I mean, yeah, he is a Kindred main. There is a lot of potential there. You don't see Kindred a whole lot, so a lot of people don't really know how to play against a Kindred player in these cases. So you want to have that available to you. And also, we have Drakes as an ADC, plays a lot of Ezreal and Tristana, and also some Kai'Sa as well. So probably what I imagine with them banning out the Lucian is that they might be looking for a little bit more of a late game carry that Lucian would normally shut down by being such an early game hero.
As the Ezreal will be picked in for Drakes. Now the Vladimir did get banned, and that is to go against NZ, and because NZ has played Vladimir a couple of times in the top lane, play the Cassiopeia as well, so watch out for that. But I want to look at this bot lane because Drake, he's on the Ezreal, but what I kind of like about Tauber is he can play some really fun supports. He's played the Leona, he's played the Vel'Koz, he's played Gragas, so we could see a nice matchup in the bot lane as Urgot's been locked in for Sphinx.
So that does make sense. Sphinx does play a lot of Urgot. Sort of Scion, Urgot are the main ones that they're going to be looking for. So Kai'Sa being picked up for Sphinx as well means that they're also looking at this late game. So you have Ezreal and Kai'Sa, both of these. Ezreal's more of a mid to late game, and Kai'Sa is more of a later game champion. So it's going to be up to Sphinx to be able to stay alive through that and make sure that Kai'Sa is able to get stuff like the Guinsoo's and things like that. Jason Galio being picked up on the side of Hillerød.
Yeah.
So Galio is a lot of fun. I always love watching a Galio in team fights.
And we've got a Jace, so this is going to be a really fun top lane. But going back to the Chase Me Scion, which is his main, he's played like 85% of his games on the Scion. Last time Scion was picked against Hillerød, which was in that Chimera game, Hillerød whipped out a Karma top, and NZ on the Karma abused the Scion. So I think Sphinx are slightly wary for that, as they will pick up a safe Lissandra mid lane.
So definitely do watch the top lane and the mid lane. Those are some of Hillerød's highest ranked players. They're masters, so they oftentimes run into very, very good players. We were talking about that earlier. And so watch those lanes very, very closely, because that is probably where a lot of the carry potential is going to be.
Yeah, and Jace in the top lane, we could see a really nice play from NZ, but Right to Hunt and Tauber still to pick their laners, or the jungle and the support, as Alistair and Xin Zhao have been locked, banned out. Now Sphinx, I would expect to see a Kindred. I wouldn't want to give Right Hunt the option to take his Kindred pick.
They're going to think about, no, they're going to actually take away Morgana.
Right, so this I mean, it indicates, doesn't it, that Sphinx are going to go for an engage support.
I would be thinking that as well, because it's a little bit surprised that they banned Morgana, because Morgana is such a really good pick with Kai'Sa, so they're going to have to come up with something else for that. And yeah, normally when you're banning Morgana, that means you're going to have an engage support, something like a Rakan. But
Janna.
they're offering the Janna.
Okay, I mean, I wasn't aware that Morgana, maybe Morgana they just didn't want, as Cassiopeia is going to be locked in, it's being hovered. Cassiopeia most... Wait, I'm confused now. No, Zoe. Okay, right. So, Hold My Fox, I did mention before that Hold My Fox can play Zoe or Cassiopeia. And they've gone with a Zoe. So, where... Are we going to see a Jace jungle?
We may see a Jace jungle. We may even see a Galio support. That's what I think is going to be happening here, is a Galio support.
Elise is going to be... is being hovered, so an Elise jungle. So... I'm guessing it's either going to be Galio or Zoe support right now.
It's got to be one of those two. Yeah, because that's definitely the jungle pick. Lee Sin. I've seen Lee Sin like top once, and it didn't end well. It wasn't in this league. I think it was just a troll thing. So, yeah, Lee Sin's going jungle.
Was that in one of your blind pick games where you were rude to the top laner in
I don't remember. It's probably just when I was goofing off with my friends down in the depths of Silver.
Okay,
honestly, the best place to be.
Zach's going to be locked in, and I do like this because GoCommit has played a lot of Zach in the Wintersplit so far, and he's been fairly successful with that pick. So I'm quite glad that he's gone for one of his comfort picks. And I feel like Sphinx have got quite a safe lineup, especially with the Janna, Kai'Sa in the bot lane, the Zac, and particularly the Lissandra in the mid lane. So where do you see all of the excitement happening in this game?
Well, like I said, definitely watch mid and top lane. Other thing to watch is going to be jungle, because Zac is not a good duelist inside of the jungle. He loses most matchups in early game, like level 3 or so fights. So that's going to give Hillerød a lot of openings to just go and make Zac's life, just really exhausting in this case, because Lee Sin can win those fights up against Zac.
And of course, we don't know yet how Hillerød are going to play these flex picks. I mean, I don't want to say it, but we could see an Ezreal AP mid. I don't know how well Zoe Galio bot would work, but we have to consider all possibilities, especially when we're talking about Hillerød.
Yeah, a lot, like I said, a lot of these things are just kind of, you have to wait and see once we're in the game, even because even if we do look at the client itself and see who is playing who, probably at this point a lot of these people could actually just change lanes even. So the client will give us an idea, but we'll only really know once we get into the game.
Of course. But again, I'm interested to see how this top lane is going to work out. NZ really good for Hillerød last time against Chimera. So I'm interested to see how he's going to be playing this Jace into the Urgot. Especially, and you've got the Zoe and Galio as well. So we could see some really nice combos, especially maybe with Lee Sin going in for an engage and then Galio using the hero entrance on top of that.
That is a really great combo. That's really what Galio needs, is he needs just someone to be able to get into the middle of the enemy team. And really the only person on this team who is really equipped to do that would be either Jace or Lee Sin. Jace because, you do have that little jump, but Lee Sin especially because the resonating strike, you're able to get right on top of an enemy team. And although the hero's entrance was nerfed, it doesn't have as much damage reduction whenever for all allies inside of the area of effect. It is still incredibly powerful in team fights just because of the amount of damage and the knockups that it provides.
And one thing I always find kind of entertaining to consider when looking at team comps is the poke versus full engage within a team. And I feel like for Hillerød, they've quite clearly gone for a poke.
Yeah, a lot of this is just you have really big burst damage at different times, mostly from the Ezreal and the Jace. If they set up a combo correctly, then they're able to hit someone for a quarter of their health in early game in some cases. And so because of that, it's just going to be Sphinx having to play very, very passively to make sure that they don't get picked out. And just when they do find an opportunity, be able to engage on top of these people. But a lot of people do have ways to make sure that they don't get jumped on as easily. You have Galio able to taunt people and slow them down. Jace is able to knock people away, and Lee Sin as well. And obviously Ezreal has the teleport.
And if we think about early game versus late game, who has the advantage in each of these phases, and what are the win conditions for either side?
I'm definitely going to say that Hillerød does have a bit of an advantage in the early game compared to Sphinx, mostly just because of the Ezreal and the Lee Sin, as well as Zoe and Galio. Jace, not as much, but definitely those four are all very good early game champions. Whereas Sphinx, they have stuff like the Jax and the Lissandra and the Kai'Sa, which are more of these late game sort of picks.
Right, so can we expect Hillerød to try and force an advantage early game and just try to end as soon as possible?
I'd say that will be a very fair assumption, because that's oftentimes what we do see from Hillerød is ending games very early. So I'd be expecting for them, they're going to be wanting to end it right around 25 minutes will be their plan.
Yeah. Well, let's keep an eye on that. We've got your prediction now, 20 minutes. Guys, let's see some hype in the chat. We're not ready to go into game just yet. We've got a 2.5 minute spectator delay, but that means that we can talk about my favorite thing in the world, let's see, and that is summoner spells.
Yeah. So there are just a couple of interesting ones here. Mostly Zoe is running the cleanse to make sure that Lil Uzi Vert isn't able to lock him down quite as hard. That is very important on Zoe, and since you do have access to your enemy summoner spell whenever they use it, that means that oftentimes you can use that sort of a little bit more risky, not quite as much combat utility, because you might be able to pick up something like an Ignite later on. And speaking of Ignite, Talbot is going to be running Ignite as support in the bot lane.
And I do like the cleanse coming out from Hold My Fox against the Lissandra, just because it just gives you that extra little bit of safety, especially when you're playing it against the Jax jungle.
Also, the other interesting thing would be Drake's teleport. Normally when you're playing an ADC, you're going to want to bring like heal or something like that. Well, mostly heal. That's what you bring 90% of the time into the bot lane. But Ezreal having a little bit more of a global presence means that Drake's is going to be able to respond to different situations, a big wave push, something like that. If a team is wanting to push up, he will then be able to split push and create a distraction. So all of these things will be easier. In fact, it's worth mentioning that both sides have 2 teleports on their team.
Yeah, I've been noticing a lot in terms of SRG games. We're seeing quite a few teams opting for protect the carry comp. Do you see the Sphinx lineup as one of those?
I would definitely say so, because Kai'Sa is just such a huge carry hero in the right hands and with the right items. And so, especially with having a Janna, Janna is a very good disengage hero. You're able to push people away with your ultimate and land those nados. And the Lissandra doesn't do a whole lot of damage by herself, but does a really good job of setting people up for victory.
So will definitely be interesting to see how especially this bot lane pans out, especially with considering that Drake's does not have that heal available to him. 2 teleports coming out from both sides because of course Drake's with the TP, and that has allowed Hold My Fox to go for the cleanse, which we mentioned earlier. How do you see this bot lane going?
I think it is going to be a little bit in advantage of Hillerød, partially because of the Galio and partially just because of Ezreal. Galio, you're able to get really good knockups, get a little bit of extra damage that normally support wouldn't have, and also just you have such amazing engage that should be able to set up Drake's pretty well to be able to get good combos off with WQ And I think that there's going to be a little bit of a tougher time Donbox Kaisa because you don't have as many defensive abilities available to you.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things, if you're going to take a Kaisa where you don't have that much, where you're not that scary early game, it means that you can take a slightly more unconventional bot lane like this Ezreal Galio and get away with it and do bits for your team in that early game.
Also, it's just going to be up to whether Tauber can play Galio very, very well.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see how they will all pan out, because one thing that we have to mention, and I feel like we've slightly hinted at this, but we haven't, you know, really mentioned it, is the fact that Ezreal has TP available to him, and Galio, of course, has the hero's entrance, so we could see a really big wombo combo if Sphinx do not respect that map, the cross-map play.
For instance, if there is a ward behind the bot lane, if you put one inside of one of the lane bushes and Sphinx pushes up underneath the tower, Ezreal can TP behind them and then hero's entrance can be used to just create a very inopportune moment for Sphinx.
And Hillerød going for what is kind of their standard now, level 1 invade. They're pinging around the Raptors and the red buff and go commit. We'll see them coming, so they're going to back off. But will they actually steal the red buff, or are they going to back off in the end?
See, I'm not actually even in the game. It's still loading for me. You know how it is sometimes. There we go. So, yeah, the invade is a little bit risky, but it can pay off very well if done properly. But it doesn't look like nothing is really going to come of it. They're just going to be going back to their own bot side camps.
Yeah, and both... Actually, jungler's going to start on the bot side, so Zac will be starting that blue after Hillerød essentially forced Zac away from his red buff.
Yeah, I mean, and that is going to be a little bit trouble because, like I said before, Zac does not have a lot of dueling potential. And so, if Right to Hunt so desires, we'll be able to do a lot of damage. Right now, it looks like a little bit of fight in the mid lane. Right to Hunt wants an engage.
And the cheesy level 2, but he's not able to hit the Sonic Wave. But he does get the flash out of Lil Uzi. A good job from him there.
Overall, definitely very good. And now it looks like he's looking at the jungle. Go commit jungle right now, getting the Raptors. And it was actually Right to Hunt that stole the Raptors there.
And he does get the kill, but Zac does have the droplets. Can they kill those droplets? And they can indeed. But it's not first blood because Don back in the bot lane was able to pick up a kill onto Tauber. Good stuff there from Sphinx, getting the kill just in time.
Just managed to get that extra gold, but it's funny enough that Hillerød actually does still have the gold lead, but it is comforting for Sphinx to know that there will be even more of a gold lead if they hadn't have gotten that first blood.
Yeah, and it is a shame they are going for this early game, and I do like how aggressive Right to Hunt is being against this Jack. As in the top lane, we're going to see a bit of a fight. Chase Me Please force under his turret, fairly low, and NZ with a 9 CS advantage.
So now Right to Hunt is going to be taking that red buff, taking that away from Go Commit Jungle, and it's going to be really difficult for Go Commit Jungle to counter jungle here. It looks like he's going to try looking towards the Raptors, may be able to take that in time before Right to Hunt decides to go for it.
Yeah, and he will have a nice entry into the mid lane. But I want to direct you and ask your opinion. As how we're really low in the bot lane. One auto would have seen him die. But look in the bot lane. Drakes has gone for the Spell Thief's Edge on the Ezreal. What do you think of that pickup?
So it's pretty interesting, and oftentimes in this part of the meta, you see a lot of experimentation with that. So basically what it allows is for bot lane to farm extra gold, and they actually would be able to with just CS. And as we have seen, Tauber has a little bit of a tough time being able to really be up in the front line.
And now Tauber is engaging. Zac's nearby. The Ignite has been popped. Back really low. Can Ezreal pick up the kill? Yes, he's got one kill. Zac's close, but Janna, Birdie Zakira will get the counter kill. 2 kills for one there from Sphinx, and an unsuccessful engage from Tauber.
So a little bit of aggression there, trying to get ahead trying to get an early or another early kill, and almost managed to get a double. There was a really good target priority there once the ignite was burned on. Donback knew that it was going to fall, and so instead started focusing his fire over onto the Morgana, or not the Morgana, the Janna rather. But Ezreal's auto attacks don't really do a lot of damage. Most of his damage comes through on his abilities, and so because that wasn't able to get quite enough damage out in time.
Now Hillerød do have a very slight gold advantage, 300 gold, and that's probably mostly coming from that top lane CS discrepancy. But Donback currently has a BF sword and Drake's has a cloth armor. So I feel like Hillerød are going to have to be extremely safe in that bot lane now.
We will have to watch a little bit of brawling in the mid lane as well while Hold My Fox got rooted.
Okay, and he's going to lose the trade, but in the top lane now, Right Hunt, is he going to have a little... No, he's not, so everything's going to stay as his. Right Hunt will probably just pick up the scuttler in the river.
Go Commit Jungle does know that he is there and does get slept.
And Hold My Fox does not have the paddle star available to him. Has to watch out for Lil Uzi, who has both mid laners have now hit 6.
So now that those ultimates are up, Lil Uzi will have a lot more engage, but My Fox will also have a lot more dodging, brawling capability, able to dodge around that a little bit more.
Oh, we're going to get engaged in the mid lane as Go Commit will land. The ultimate comes through. Hold My Fox forced to burn the cleanse and the flash. Lee Sin is nearby. Will they try to turn this around onto Sphinx? Zac is backing, so I don't think there's going to be anything more. Hold My Fox giving the availability as the Sleepy Trouble Bubble will land, but Hold My Fox will not be able to capitalize on that.
Just too low on health. You really don't want to over engage, especially on a point like that. Right under the tower, probably would have died there if you tried to go for the kill in the end.
Yeah, and currently the kills still stand at 3-2, and with this, as we mentioned in the pre-show, essentially, as in the top lane, chase me please, really low. Can they get the kill? Yes. A good ultimate empowered shock blast from NZ will secure the solo kill in the top lane. Good job there from Hillerød.
And that is one very powerful thing about Jace, being able to essentially swap between a melee character and a range character. And also, if you can set up the ultimate, the gate, and the shot properly, you're able to deal a lot of surprise damage, and it makes it very difficult to really run away from a Jace.
And the important thing here is we mentioned that, as the Zac will try to engage, can he get the auto attack off to get the CC? And the Ezreal ultimate, how much damage do you want from that? That is insane, as Drakes will get a kill in the 2v3 in the bot lane.
That certainly was a surprising amount of damage, and it was a great taunt from Tauber as well. I mean, all 3 people ended up getting caught in that, and that just made it really easy for Danks to make sure that he could set up that ultimate without any sort of trouble.
And that has burnt both flashes from the support and jungler of Sphinx. So really good play and a failed gank. And this is what I've constantly been trying to mention before I get interrupted, rather conveniently, by the teams. It is that Sphinx have gone for this protector carry, and we are seeing both junglers essentially just invading and going for this vertical jungling, which means that Go Commit has been closer to that bot lane to try to get Dom back ahead. But it was successful at the start, but now it seems to be not working out very well for them.
Yeah, and also just, look at Ride to Hunt is able to just abuse this jungle so hard, and there's nothing that Sphinx can really do to stop him.
Yeah, he's got 20 CS more than his jungle counterpart. But if you look in the bot lane, a 36 gold discrepancy between the Ezreal and Kai'Sa.
There is a very big CS difference there, but also keep in mind that Tauber has a lot of CS as well, and when you add
mid lane is a great flash ultimate, and Right to Hunt will secure the kill. That was so clean. That was such a clean Lee Sin play.
I mean, Lee Sin does have the best engage in the game, just requires a lot of work to really get it right. But as I was mentioning inside the bot lane, don't forget that Tauber also does have a lot of CS. And, you know, because of that, Relic Shield is actually sharing it with Drakes. Also, Drakes is getting extra gold just from hitting abilities, which he has been able to do pretty well. So I think if you add up that together, I bet you that these people actually have very similar amounts of gold.
Yeah, and I'm just seeing the replay on the stream, and it was really nice. The Flash ultimate followed by the Sonic Wave and then the Resonating Strike, just beautifully played. And you've got Oh My Fox, he's now 002 on the Zoe. Both mid laners have the Lost Chapter, but the Lee Sin is starting to get even further ahead, which is going to cause Gokumit even more trouble in the jungle now.
And also, Gokumit did want to engage her, spent so long in the Tribush, does mean that you're neglecting your jungle and not able to, keep up on the farm there, get everything disengaging the right time and get the respawns correctly. And because of that, that really is giving Ride to Hunt a lot of free time, a lot of space to really
engage in the bot lane. Domback forced to flash to dodge the ultimate from Ezreal. So True Shot Barrage will not get any damage. Gokumit is now in the bot lane Tribush, so he could get a gank if Hillerød are a little bit too aggressive now.
But the Squire's Bloom is going to reveal Gokumit jungle and, show that he has decided to retreat. And that could give Ride to Hunt a little bit of information. And because that is deciding to go for the Herald now and should be able to get it without any sort of contest.
Yeah. Gokumit is around that mid lane. They will not be able to contest, but Chase Me Please may get caught out around the Rift Herald. Ride to Hunt, Chase Me Please force. Did he flash over the wall? I think he did.
He used the Blast Cone.
He used a blast code. I was wondering why his flash wasn't up. So Ride to Hunt will spawn, will have the Rift Herald available. We're going to see an engage in the top lane. Ride to Hunt with the W just for a bit of shield protection. He will be able to spawn the Rift Herald now in that top lane, and that could be first turret going over to Hillerød.
It should be just one charge is going to do it, and there it is. So that is the first turret down. Lots of extra gold there. And there has to be a response in order to take out this Rift Herald. But Gokumit jungle is really the only one there.
And in the bot lane, Tabo with a flash taunt will get the taunt off onto Domback, and then it's just easy picking for Drake, who is closing up in both CS and now is 3-1 in kills.
So, that is what we were talking about before, is that Drake is able to be a lot more offensive, a lot more aggressive, and get more payoff from it. And that is starting to show here. And, what we were talking about before, the amount of poke that Ezreal has, that is why they decided to go the Frostfang, because, the Spell Thief, because, that does give you extra gold for doing that. And he has been able to utilize that properly. And now that they're actually evening up in CS just a little bit, that does certainly mean that Ezreal is going to have a lot more gold. Also, if we look briefly at the CS difference in the top lane, it's over 40 CS difference.
And just in case you're wondering what the gold difference is from that, that's 2,500 gold in favor of NZ. In the bot lane, Drake's has 1,300 more than back, which is a lot of gold, and it's meant that Drake's has already been able to finish off his Manu Mane. He's got the Sheen available to him. While Domback, okay, explain this to me. He's gone for 2 pickaxes.
That is a little bit odd. Maybe he decided to stop building one item and start building another.
Buddy Zakira has roamed up to the top lane. Will NZ be caught out? Can he find an outplay? No, the Fear Beyond Death will land, and that's 600 bounty gold going over to Chase Me.
That isn't going to be enough to even up the gold lead that Hillerød has at this point, but it certainly is going to help Chase Me Please be able to survive in that area a little bit better. But now, in the bot lane.
And Gokumit will try to get the elastic slingshot up. He takes a mystic shot to the face. The guy who's going to be ulting in. Domback really low. Will die. Can they kill the Zac Bloodblitz? Drakes will die. He takes 1 turret shot too many. Right Hunt very low as well. It's going to be 2 kills for 1 from Hillerød. As sorry, I saw Right Hunt had got a kill, and I was like, where's that at the start? No, he's in the bot lane.
But that has worked out really well. A big brawl in the mid lane as well, though we missed both of the mid laners coming out pretty much even. and it's going to be Hold My Fox that decides to back first. So that's what we were talking about with the goalie. And when we look at CS, by all means, Kai'Sa should have more. But with that Spell Thieves edge, Ezreal is able to get a lot more gold just from being able to poke.
And Ezreal has picked up a Phage, so I guess, as the Sleep Trouble Bubble lands in mid lane, can Hold My Fox, he gets a flash off, and the Paddle Star will get the kill. Birdie Zukiri goes for the flash, he gets off the E. Hold My Fox so low, but the Ignite will pick up the kill. Birdie Zukira really low, but the True Shot Barrage can't get the kill. Redemption coming through, but Jace turns up clutch with the Shock Blast and gets a second kill over for Hillerød.
So this is looking really, really good for him. You know, we're now sitting at 15 minutes, and Hillerød has 31.9 gold, 31.9 thousand gold versus just 23. That is almost a 10k gold difference. Really now, it should just be Hillerød trying to just clean up at this point, making sure that they don't throw the game.
And currently Hillerød have been playing this decently. We mentioned that they want to take the early game and just try to snowball as quickly as possible against the late game Kai'Sa on the side of Sphinx on Domback.
And they do seem to be doing a really good job of that right now. Every lane is winning. There was a little bit of shakiness in the bot lane earlier in the game, but they were able to play a little bit more defensively, work out well. Right now in the jungle, a little bit of brawl going on.
And the elastic slingshot from Zach. Lee Sin will follow with a resonating strike. He catches a turret shot right on so low, but the Fear Beyond Death lands Chase Me Please with a great kill. Two-shot barrage coming through. Chase Me Please really low, but Sphinx will be able to disengage and pick up a free kill.
And that is going to be looking really, really good for the side of Sphinx. For the side of Sphinx so far, able to get out right to Hunt is going to help him.
What was that, NZ? How did you land that shock blast onto Lil Uzi? And that is a kill. Now, currently Hillerød have a Mountain Drake. There's a second Mountain Drake that is spawning in 2 minutes, and if they can get that, that's a lot of damage they will be dealing to any turrets and the Baron when that does spawn in 3 minutes.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to go for the dragon first, then immediately go for
the Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands on Janna in the top lane, and that's going to be another kill going over to Hillerød. They are absolutely forcing this top lane in right now. Hold My Fox doing bits with the poke, landing those Sleepy Trouble Bubbles.
The Sleepy Troubles is absolutely huge. The sleep is very, very powerful, and it's a fairly easy skill shot to hit.
And we've got Lee Sin in the bot lane right now. He's pushing. He's going to try to get the inner turret, as the inhibitor turret will fall in that top lane. Drake will be up in 58 seconds. Baron is 2.5 minutes away, and Lee Sin will successfully pick up the turret as a True Shot Barrage is burned from Drake's.
So Ride to Hunt is just clearing out the jungle in this direction. It's probably going to be going for the Mountain Drake now, while just putting Vision down behind him, but maybe trying to catch out Go Commit jungle here.
Yeah, and Go Commit, again, he got caught out before when he tried to follow with the Resonating Strike after Go Commit used the Elastic Slingshot to safety, and I feel that it was just an unnecessary aggressiveness, as Go Commit will get the Elastic Slingshot off onto Ride to Hunt. He does have the ult available. Jan is here as well. The Tornado will knock Ride to Hunt back. He will be able to use the Ward Hop to get out of range of the Kai'Sa Killer Instinct.
And that is going to open up a lot of opportunities to him. The Mountain Drake is being gotten, and that means that Baron will be gotten probably before too long, since we are sitting at 19 minutes and just 10 seconds.
Yeah, and the third Drake is going to be a Cloud Drake. We won't be seeing our classic SRG triple Drake. As Lissandra won't follow up, she's just picked up blue buff, so at least she'll be able to spam some abilities now. But will Hillerød just push in this mid lane now, or will they try to set up for Baron?
They're going to be pushing in the mid lane, at least trying to get the inhibitor now. because that will be spawning these super minions, but it is going to make it a lot more difficult for Sphinx to try and respond to any sort of situation that they create, or that Hillerød creates for them. And as you see now that they're starting to move towards that area.
And Go Commit engaging with the elastic slingshot, uses the ultimate to pull them back. Birdie Zakira forced to burn the owl almost instantly. Birdie Zakira and Go Commit really low. They're turning this around now. Tauber gets the taunt off. That's 2 kills going over to Hillerød. A 3rd kill going over as Kaiser will die. Go Commit is in the passive bloblets now, and Hillerød are looking to end this at the 20-minute mark.
Doesn't even look like that they need the Baron with the 2nd Nexus Tower down. That is going to be game for Hillerød.
And Hillerød showing that they are a force to be reckoned with, as one more win after this will see them with a guaranteed playoff spot. And Go Commit there tried to get the engage off, tried to get the ultimate to bring them back into the fight, but there was just so much damage coming out of Hillerød that Sphinx were finding it really hard to find any way to play against the team.
Yeah, I mean, Hillerød, they were just dominant on all fronts. The only thing they're, maybe a little bit lacking was they were just so aggressive in the bot lane. Ended up an early kill for the side of Sphinx, but it didn't really matter because they could just continue to outperform in other areas, and that means that they actually ended that game with nearly 20,000 more gold than the other team.
That is actually disgusting. And before we head into a break, is there anything specific you would like to mention, Litzy, about what you'd like to see Sphinx do differently in game number 2?
And they're going to have to think up of some strategy to specifically take out Hillerød. They have to have maybe practice something, some sort of secret strategy. Otherwise, if they just continue to play Hillerød's game, if they just continue to play standard meta League of Legends, they're not going to be able to do anything.
I like the idea of hidden strategies, and I know we've been seeing in the Twitch chat cries out to see a Teemo getting picked up in game 1, so hopefully we'll be able to satisfy that with a Teemo in game 2. But we're going to be taking a short break, and we'll be back in just a short minute. So guys, don't go anywhere, maybe replenish up your snacks, but we'll be back in just a short bit for game 2 between Hillerød and Sphinx.
Welcome to the world, no heroes and villains. Welcome to the war, we've only begun. So pick up your weapon and face it. There's blood on the ground, go and take it. You get one shot to make it out alive. So higher and higher you're chasing. It's deep in your bones, go and take it. This is your moment, now is your time. So prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Rise, push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you. Rise. Welcome to the climb up, reach for the summit. Visions brave, the one false step lead the end. So higher and higher you're chasing. It's deep in your blood, go and take it. This is your moment. Take to the skies, go. Prove yourself and rise, rise. Make them remember you. Push through heaven. Rise, rise. They will remember you.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you replenish your snacks because we are ready for game 2 between Hillerød and Sphinx. Hillerød picked up game 1 rather convincingly, and let's see, go over again what you'd like to see Sphinx do differently as we head into game 2.
Well, if you did get some snacks for last game, you might still have them around because it didn't take very long. It only took just over 20 minutes. Hillerød, they just managed to win on every front. Sphinx, they're going to have to just try and not win a poke battle because Hillerød obviously is winning on that front. And they're going to have to find something to specifically counter Hillerød. Like we said, they're going to have to specifically fight in this ban phase that is coming up to make sure that they can really shut down Hillerød and play these champions that maybe Hillerød isn't used to playing against, so that they can properly have some sort of other strategy. Because if they just play meta League of Legends, Hillerød is going to do it better.
Right, and we have just entered pick and ban phase, and Sphinx have banned out that Zoe straight away. Hillerød banning the Yasuo, but Sphinx giving a lot of respect to the poke, banning the Ezreal as well. So let's see if they just try to ban out Hillerød's entire team composition from the last game.
See how this last ban, I mean, the thing is that those weren't Hillerød's like ace into the whole characters. I mean, you know, the jungler does play other junglers, the top player that's not like his main jungler. So if they just, I mean, the Ezreal was definitely one of Hillerød's main things, but I feel like if they just go through and ban out everything that was a thing last time, then Hillerød is just going to pick up these other heroes that they know.
Right. Sphinx banning the LeBlanc. Now, Whole My Fox does play, if you look at his op.gg, has been playing Zoe and Cassiopeia. So I would like to see a Cassiopeia coming into that mid lane, as it could also be a nice flex for Hillerød, that we like to see them always take those flex picks. But Sphinx will have the first pick after Hillerød make their final bans on that Lucian and Morgana.
So Hillerød not really wanting to play a very they want to play more of a mid to late game like they did last time, because they're banning out that Lucian. Also, because they're banning out Morgana means that they're probably going to be running a more heavy engage champion as a support and ADC. One thing to note is that Sphinx has picked up the Draven for the bot lane.
As Hillerød taking Victor now, going on to that Morgana, how about he plays Leona? And as a Leona main myself, and as much as I love Leona, you hate Morganas, and it's the first thing you ban out. It's Morgana, followed by then maybe a Tahm Kench and a Lulu, just because Lulu's annoying. You try to go in with your Zenith Blade, and then they're like, polymorph, and you just can't do anything. But Draven,
everyone remember 6-second silence on a 8-second cooldown. Good times.
Oh god. But what I would like to see coming out from the Sphinx bot lane is the Draven Nemi. Morgana's gone, which means you can't get Draven Morgana, as Sion's going to be locked in. So I guess we should be seeing a Victor Sion in the top lane.
I think that's definitely going to be going in the direction of Hillerød if that is the matchup that is happening here. And I think that Hillerød sort of predicted that Sphinx, you know, their top laner doesn't really know how to play much else besides Sion and Urgot. So picking a good counter to both of those like Victor will pay off for them. Sphinx running Elise, which is going to be a little bit interesting. More of a champion that can actually fight inside of the jungle early game, which is definitely something that Sphinx was lacking quite a bit. And Hillerød, they're hovering the Lee Sin. They might want to do it again.
They're going to take the Xin Zhao instead, and would taking an AP jungler suggest that we might be seeing an AD mid laner coming from the side of Sphinx?
We could do, and also one thing to know from Xin Zhao is he just does early game ganks. You just constantly go into the lane and try to get your laners ahead, because you are going to fall off really hard in the late game. You do essentially nothing past 30 minutes as a Xin Zhao. So that this could work very well for them if they manage to get their laners ahead, especially the Victor, especially the Galio. And it depends on where the Galio is going to be going. We could be seeing the Galio go mid lane or into the bot lane again.
Now, I like the ban of Leona, because Morgana's ban, you don't want to give Sphinx the opportunity to take a Leona, because Leona Draven is a really strong lane matchup. Now, the bot lane from Hillerød is still open. They can take anything they want. While Sphinx, I mean, it'd be safe to assume it's going to be the mid laner and the support that are still to pick, unless we see Sion flex to either mid lane or support.
So I'm a little bit surprised that Hillerød actually didn't go Leona, because I'd imagine that'd be very, very good against a Draven, because you essentially know where he's about to go. But running a Galio support would be very good as well, because you're able to, like I said, predict where the Draven is going to go and either punish him because he isn't able to pick up his axes, or because he does go for the axes, able to really punish for that. So with the Urgot being picked from the side of Hillerød, then it's probably not actually going to be the Victor top lane. It's probably going to be Victor mid.
And this is just classic from Hillerød, always taking these flex picks. But we should also consider the fact that the Urgot could be going into that mid lane.
Could do. We have seen it a few times, and it does sometimes work. I definitely think that Hillerød would be one of the teams that could pull it off if they do decide to try that. And I think that Victor is such a
Blitzcrank.
good...
Blitzcrank.
So the Blitzcrank Draven combo is pretty good.
I do like this. I haven't seen a Blitzcrank yet in SRG, so I'm extremely excited to see how this is going to pan out. Now, Hillerød, if they have gone for the Galio, would it be reasonable to expect a Sivir maybe?
I think that probably would be a good champion to combo with Galio, and since Ezreal is banned out, having a good team fighting champion.
Nautilus.
Well, I did say they had to try something different.
Okay, right. So
Blitzcrank mid.
What our Blitzcrank. How about Draven mid, Blitzcrank Nautilus bot?
That would be interesting. I would be.
I would be no words for that.
I'd be really concerned about Draven, because Draven doesn't really have any escape. You know, you have hardly any CC. They just
there's the Sivir. I called Sivir. I'm just saying. I called Sivir. Yeah.
You did call it.
The spell shield protection against the Blitzcrank is really nice. So, Sivir Galio or Sivir Urgot or Sivir Victor in the bot lane?
I would be pretty surprised if it was Sivir Victor. I mean, Galio could be played mid. I think that chances are that's going to be going in support, though. And it's probably going to be Urgot in the mid or top, and then Victor in top or mid. I think that it'd be a little bit of a shame to see the Victor not going to the top lane, because that would be very, very good against a Sion, because you can punish him every time he goes for a devastating strike by just putting down the stun.
However, with the Nautilus there, I feel like the most likely thing we're going to see is the Draven Blitz in the bot lane, Nautilus going top, and Sion being flexed to the mid lane. So I guess Hillerød have the option. They can just answer with wherever Sphinx go by putting Victor into that same lane as the Sion.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see a Nautilus top lane, I really just feel bad for the Nautilus because I never see it work. It just doesn't work very well. You think it does, and then you play it, and then it doesn't. Because he really only has engage. And he does have to disengage, but he has to choose between using engage or disengage. And he just doesn't really have a whole lot of damage to follow up on a lot of things. So I think that'd be a really big risk to take him into the top lane. And it had to be a very specific thing. I think that it could do all right against Victor because Victor is a little bit more squishy. So being able to lock him down with a Nautilus might work well, but it has to be a very specific thing. I kind of want to see an AP Blitzcrank mid, but I doubt it's going to happen.
I mean, if Elise could work as a laner, I would have. Oh, so apparently we're just getting word that the Blitzcrank may have been a mispick and they meant to go for Xerath, but we will see. And if it is a Xerath, then of course it's most likely going to be Xerath mid. But then again, Xerath can be played support. So I guess it's either now, if it's Xerath, it's going to be Xerath mid, Nautilus bot. And if it's Xerath support, then probably Nautilus top side mid.
It is very annoying to play against a Xerath on support just because the amount of poke that happens through. Why does he even have a stun? And the very, very powerful ultimate being able to poke people when they try to just back under tower. You're able to keep them from backing, which could extend the fight a little bit longer and give them an opportunity later. It works very, very well. So the Draven is going to be sort of one of the interesting ones because Draven is one of the highest damage ADCs, especially in early game, if you do play him well, but he requires a little bit more knowledge to play. He's one of the more difficult ADCs to play because you require a little bit more positioning, a little bit more maneuverability per se in order to really survive that.
And there's that thing that I've never understood because I don't play Draven, but it's controlling the axis. Yeah, you don't want to let Draven's axis tell you where to go. You want to direct your axis into the optimal positions.
Right. The axes are essentially a continuation of your previous movement, so you can control where the axes go by how you use them. If you just sort of go to the axes as they show up, you'll end up just kind of moving around in a circle around the thing that you're hitting. And it does actually help you if you're getting Baron because you can actually just stand in the same spot and the axes will land pretty close to you constantly.
And now we are seeing the Xerath being locked in on the client, but then again, Right to Hunt is on the Lee Sin. So we're not going to be seeing a Xin Zhao, we're seeing a Lee Sin, and it will be a Xerath mid.
A little bit weird that there have been two mispicks inside of the banning phase. I don't know what happened where they did that, but whatever. We're going to see more of Ride to Hunt's Lee Sin, which I'm certainly not complaining about. It does work very, very well. So, you know, and let's look at their composition a little bit. We have Sivir, who's a very, very good engage ADC because you have the ultimate, which does speed everybody up. You have Lee Sin, who's able to get right into the middle of an enemy, and Galio is able to ult on top of that. I think that Hillerød does have some really, really good team fight potential with this composition.
Yeah, and it almost feels like Hillerød have gone for the opposite of what they did in Game 1, where Game 1 they went for that early game poke team, and now you've got more of, well, a slightly later game, but a team that's much more orientated around team fighting.
It's just, we'll try to get to laning phase as soon as possible, or try to get out of laning phase as soon as possible, and then just jump on top of them as a team. If you can get on top of a Draven, make sure that he can't move around as he please, won't be doing as much damage, you know, making sure that the Nautilus isn't able to do quite as much, making sure that the Xerath isn't able to get away and use his ultimate. All of these things are things that Hillerød should be able to be set up to do.
Yeah, and in Game 1, we saw that Right to Hunt tried to punish the Zac pick, the Zac pick by counter jungling as much as possible on the Lee Sin. However, as you mentioned, Elise, a champion that can hold her own much more in the jungle, would you expect to see Right Hunt counter ganking, counter jungling as much as he did in game 1?
Probably not quite as much. Elise does do a lot better in the dueling department. You're able to use the repel to get away. You're able to root people and deal considerable damage to him, especially once you start getting some items. So that is going to be a little bit tougher for Right to Hunt. We're going to see if he will be able to do it anyway, just from capability alone.
Okay, let's see. We've got big news. Viv is going in the top lane and Victor is playing ADC.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. I do like what Sphinx essentially did. They showed the blitz. I don't know if it was intentional or not. And then the Nautilus came out and they kind of showed, hey look, we can do like some flex picky things. And then Hillerød said, well, why don't you put your ADC in the top lane then?
I mean, Sivir will be able to perform fairly well, especially against the Scion. You have the spell shield to make sure that you don't get hit by the devastating strike, and also using your Q to poke him out will be very, very powerful. Scion doesn't really have a lot of engage besides his ultimate, and so because of that, it's going to be difficult to get on top of the Sivir. So I think this was a very good specific counter pick against a Scion. I think that it wouldn't work as well against a lot of other top laners, but in this case, it should work pretty well for NZ.
And of course, when you're playing against a Scion, it's really obvious to know when he's going for the CC. Of course, when he's using the Unstoppable Onslaught, you know that there's a Scion ulting. The entire game essentially puts out like massive sirens, like there's a Scion ulting, run the hell away. And obviously when you use the Decimating Smash, you can see, so it's pretty easy for a Sivir to get her spell shield timing right.
Especially against the Scion. All of his abilities take a while to do and are fairly predictable. The only thing that that NZ will really have to watch for is the poke from Scion's E pushing minions into NZ. So gonna have to watch that a little bit, but should be able to reserve the spell shield for the devastating strikes and the unstoppable onslaughts, and so we'll be able to just poke out Chase Me Please really, really hard and make his life really difficult.
Now, if we take a look at some of the spells, everything perfectly normal for Sphinx. Sphinx going with a usual team composition, all of that. But from the side of Hillerød, we have a third teleport coming over from Drake. So Hillerød seemed to like this idea of putting a TP onto their ADC, and Tauber hasn't opted for the heal. A lot of times when you see the ADC / APC take a teleport, you usually put heal onto your support, just so that you have that extra sustain.
Yeah, but they are not going for that. Instead, they're just going for the more raw damage, which, you know, is going to be a little bit interesting because Draven does poke pretty well. Just once the axes are spinning, he gets just a little bit aggressive, gets one auto attack off, and can deal a lot of damage off of that.
And in this bot lane then, how do you expect this to go? Because, I mean, a Victor Galio bot lane is not something you see every day or even every month. So how do you think that they're going to fare against the raw power that is Draven Nautilus, especially if Nautilus lands that Q?
Well, Galio is able to respond to that pretty well, since you can just use the W to taunt and then the E to knock up. That may give Drake's time to set down the trap and keep the Nautilus in that position. So that may be a little bit difficult for Nautilus to really be able to use that properly. So Zahir is going to have to be really careful about that, about when it is used, to make sure you don't do it at an inopportune time and end up actually losing the trade. And it's also going to be up to Don Bach being able to dish out enough damage while all that is happening to possibly scare Drakes off or just punish Tauber for staying in that position too long.
Now, Hillerød have gone for this again, where they put Spell Thief's Edge onto their ADC. And I'm interested to see whether Hillerød will fan out or invade as we head into game. And it looks like Hillerød are fanning out, but Sphinx are going to, with that Nautilus potential, they're going straight for that bot lane tri-push.
So, Go Commit Jungle does have the root available, and Nautilus being able to hook people is very powerful. Looks like they're right now making sure that an invade doesn't happen. If there was a invade from Hillerød at this point, having a team of 5 waiting in the tribe, which actually flips the invade around and instead gives the defending team the advantage, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this time around.
So Hillerød just found out they know that they don't have any of that invade potential. So as we're now in game, all items look reasonable. NZ on the Sivir has gone for the Doran's Blade, and as I mentioned shortly before, Drake's on the Victor has gone for the Spell Thief's Edge alongside Tauber's Relic Shield on the Galio.
So that is like happened before, is going to sort of multiply gold a little bit, especially because Drake's is going Kleptomancy. So keep an eye on that. Just an empowered auto on the side of Drake's should be able to proc that pretty easily. And so they're not going to be relying so much on CS. Instead, they're going to be able to just focus on poking, and that is going to be enough to make sure that they have the gold that they need.
So I'm really interested to see how this bot lane is going to fare. Both junglers starting bot side, so it's going to be interesting to see how the bot lane will fare, and the mid lane, the Urgot into that Xerath.
So Urgot is going to have a little bit of a tough time, just because the amount of damage that can come from a Xerath, especially because Urgot doesn't really have any mobility to dodge those skill shots, just like we saw there.
Okay, and in the top lane, Sivir hitting 2 just as Chase Me uses the Decimating Smash and just says, oh, thank you, I'll get some mana back. As in the bot lane, Birdie Zukira goes for the engage, only hits a minion, which means Tauber is able to turn this around and get a bit of damage. But Dom back with the axes, the spinning axes, getting off a lot of counter damage onto Drake's.
And that's what we were talking about before, is just the amount of damage that Draven is able to output. So it's going to be up to Donback to make sure that those axes are still spinning, and another engage.
Another engage. Tauber will dive in, he's really low, and the ignite with the spinning axes will deal so much damage. First blood going over to Draven. TP coming in from the Urgot. He is 3, so he may be able to get the slow off. Domback very low on mana, forced to flash, but Hold My Fox also burnt his flash. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Go Commit's going to be turning up here. He has both, but NZ forced to flash, so that's one summoner gone for the top laner of Sphinx.
It is looking pretty good for them right now.
Yeah, for Hillerød, not Sphinx, as in the mid lane, a lot of damage coming out onto Hold My Fox. But Right to Hunt is now in the top lane. He's got a fair bit of damage off onto Go Commit. He doesn't have a ward available, but he somehow hits the he hits the Sonic Wave, getting poked out now by Chase Me Please. NZ can't get through the turret to get to him in time. He is here now. They will try to get as much damage as possible. They will get a kill. NZ able to use the W to get to NZ and out to safety.
That was a great play there. NZ just focusing on getting the minions through there so that it can have another engage.
And Go Commit will get the kill. Uses the E beautifully to dodge some of the damage. And now NZ really low. Decimating Smash will not be able to strike. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, we missed about a minute ago. Drake's did pick up a kill on the Victor against Birdie Zakira's Nautilus.
So that is what we were talking about before, is that if Nautilus does engage a little bit at an inopportune moment, there should be enough follow-up on the side of Drake's and Tauber to be able to really punish that. But if Zukira is patient and waits for cooldowns to really come through, should be able to instead punish Hillerød.
And if we look at the CS discrepancies at the minute, NZ got double the CS of Chase Me, but in the bot lane it's the other way around, and as we expected, Draven with much more CS than the Victor APC.
But like we said, that isn't really what they're looking for. Instead, since they have the Kleptomancy and they have the Spell Thieves as well as a Relic, they're able to essentially farm gold without having to have CS.
Oh, as we're going to get engaged from right to Hunt. He's hit the resonating. He gets a resonating strike off. Lil Uzi is so low, but the Q from Lil Uzi will get right to Hunt solo. Right to Hunt will fall. Hold My Fox does not have the ult up to turn it around, and that's just going to be a kill going over to Sphinx.
Just a little bit too aggressive from Right to Hunt there. That is now the second time that has happened. You know, taking a fight that maybe you shouldn't have. But I can understand it there, since it almost got it, and if it wasn't for the slow, probably would have been able to pull it off.
Oh, and NZ getting caught out by both CCs in the top lane, just mistiming that spell shield a little bit. But currently Go Commit is 2-0 on an Elise. And if that keeps on scaling as Elise, as Go Commit now heading up into the top lane, NZ doesn't have mana. He doesn't have the spell block. NZ, how much damage will he take? Can he get out of it? He uses the spell shield. The ultimate's coming through. The decimating smash stops him from getting out, and that's going to be a kill going over to Go Commit, who's now 3-0. Lee Sin's turned up in the top lane. He's just going to get poked out though, and he is dead. Tauber, meanwhile, in the bot lane, they picked up a kill. Can they pick up Birdie Sukira as well? You'd have to think so. Drakes won't get the kill. Actually, both kills going over onto the Galio support.
Well, at this point, since they are going, they're both going support items, it's almost like they're both the carries at this point. They can sort of swap off those abilities as they need to. But right now, Hillerød seems to be struggling a little bit. I mean, they're just feeding a lot into Go Commit jungle right now. To be fair, Elias will have not as much power once the team fighting phase does start.
Yeah, and this is exactly the opposite of what we expected to happen, as Hold My Fox is getting poked out a lot by Lil Uzi. He's on, what, 200 HP right now? But we expected it to be the other way around. We expected the bot lane of Sphinx to be dominating, and meanwhile the rest of the map for Hillerød to be winning. But it's gone the other way around.
Yeah, it's a lot of back and forth right now, and if we look at it, even though this is a repeat of last time, even though it seems like Sphinx is getting advantages in many cases, the gold lead says otherwise. Right now, Hillerød does have
Hold My Fox solo in the mid lane, and Lil Uzi will pick up the kill. Hold My Fox just trying to stay in lane too long, even though he's solo and constantly getting poked out by that Xerath.
And that's what we were saying, is that it should be pretty difficult for Hold My Fox to really fight that lane, because the Xerath is able to just poke off fairly easily, and it'll be very difficult for Hold My Fox to be able to dodge things like that.
Yeah, and the Urgot just not working into the Xerath. The flex pick, as now Tauber will engage. He does get the taunt off. Drakes does have the ultimate, hasn't popped it yet, and that's just going to be a decent trade going over to the Hillerød bot lane. As now in the top lane, we're going to see a little skirmish between Chase Me Please and Chase Me Please will just disengage as Tauber dives in. Go Commits here. The hook will land. Tauber is solo. Zukira solo. The ultimate though won't be able to get a counter kill onto Drakes.
That was really, really close for Sphinx, but they managed to come out ahead there. And definitely do remember that every time there's just trading in the bot lane, it actually is Hillerød that comes out ahead.
Go Commit in the mid lane, and the unstoppable onslaught will land. Go Commit with another kill. 5-0 now on this Elise, and complete and utterly popping off right now.
You really have to watch that. The next time you fight Elise, you better do it as a team, because they should be able to win that.
Yeah, and Elise with so much movement speed, as now Lil Uzi might get caught out here by Right to Hunt, and on the hunt from NZ will help them secure that kill.
They do know that Go Commit jungle is there thanks to the Ghost Poro, but it doesn't look like they're going to engage quite yet.
Yeah, and again, currently, let's take a look at the gold. Somehow, there's a 500 gold advantage on the side of Hillerød. So even though they're losing this on kills, they're still doing a decent job in that gold battle.
Well, let's look at CS for that. Sivir right now, NZ has over 40 more CS than Chase Me Please, partially because you're playing a ranged top laner against a melee. And then in the bot lane, it's a similar story.
Yeah, and that top lane that you've met, the top lane CS discrepancy that you mentioned, that's 1,000 extra gold that's on the Sivir right now.
At that point, you know, that's almost a full item in many cases, and that is what we're going to be seeing now that the back does come through. The BF sword is going to now be in the possession of NZ just 10 minutes into the game.
The taunt will come through in that bot lane. Back is really low. The ultimate comes through from Drakes. Domback will burn the heal. TP coming in as well. Chase me, please. Won't be able to get an assist, but that is at least going to be another kill going over onto Go Commit.
Now sitting at, let's see, how much is it? 6-0 with a 900 gold bounty. That is looking really good for Go Commit jungle. And, you know, oftentimes you do want your jungler to be the one that is ahead at this point.
Yeah, and 6-0, you have to respect that at least so much. You cannot push forward because you are going to die. As now the hero entrance coming through in the bot lane. A little bit unnecessary though, I feel.
Oftentimes it is just a way to make sure that someone else doesn't engage, but since it was only Nautilus there, probably was not necessary. Like
unstoppable onslaught in the mid lane, and Oh My Fox is going to get burnt out. Right to Hunt turns up, tries to get the ultimate, the dragon kick, but he's now solo. He flashes, and Xerath not able to hit the final ult, but Chase Me Please will take that kill, and that's a double kill going over to the Sphinx top laner.
So now that the kills are 11-5, the gold lead is not as noticeable now, 20.4 to 20.9.
In the bot lane, Birdie Zakira very low. Tower getting caught out by the Elite CC. Zakira is really low. Drakes doesn't have the ultimate available, so it's just going to be no kills in that bot lane.
So I'm a little bit surprised that there hasn't been any fighting over the dragon. I mean, it is only in Ocean Drake, which isn't what you really want.
We're seeing a TP flank in the bot lane. Lil Uzi has turned up. Remember, he does have the ECC, but he will get hit. He will get taunted. Can they get the damage off? Lil Uzi so low, and the Chaos Storm will come through. Stopwatch though, can it save Lil Uzi? It can somehow. He survives. Lil Uzi, that stopwatch was crazy. As Drake's very low, can he defend this turret? Right to Hunt has turned up in the bot lane. He does have some damage. He gets the wall jump. He's got off a lot of damage. He gets the resonating strike, and he will get a kill back over to the side of Hillerød.
And Hold My Fox is right there in the middle of it as well, but is going to fall. Go Commit jungle is going to fall in return though.
And while all that's happening, Drake's turned up and somehow got that kill onto Lil Uzi. This game is absolutely crazy. It's crazy with kills all over the board, as we're now going to see Zakira and Right to Hunt having a fight. Drake's is there as well, and Right to Hunt will pick up the kill.
And that is what we've been wanting to see from Hillerød here, is the team fighting. And finally they're able to really pull it off the way they want to. We've seen there that when they are there as a team, they're able to really pull off a lot of great things.
And they're now sieging this bot lane turret. Can they get first turret? Domback's here, but Right to Hunt is going to go for the engage. He gets the ult off. He gets a resonating strike off. Right to Hunt, your Lee Sin is so clean.
Just that little bit of heal right at the end is going to make sure that the tower shot doesn't go through, but Go Commit jungle is here.
Right, he surely can't engage versus 3. He wants to get the spider off onto Right to Hunt. Halber with the dash taunt to try and get some damage. Drake, what's his footwork like? Is not good enough, as the ultimate from Xerath will pick up the kill. Chase Me Please will block the Tauber dash escape, and now Tauber getting hooked in and will die. 2 kills going over to Sphinx as they play a bit too aggressive to secure that first tower in the bot lane.
They did, maybe they should have just kept one person there to try to get, they did get an extra kill out of it, but they did have to sacrifice for it, so it may not have been worth. But I mean, it is a tower down, which does mean they are very much ahead in objectives at this point.
But the Elise still huge. They got the second turret in the top lane, because while Chase Me Please TP'd into that bot lane, NZ just stayed where he was in the top lane and just pushed and pushed and pushed until he got that turret.
Also, one thing to note, that since Elise did fall, that was a lot of gold going over to Hillerød. They are now sitting at a 4,000 gold lead.
Well, speaking of Elise, she does get the CC onto Oh My Fox, but Drake's is there just in time to stop them fully collapsing onto him. And the gold discrepancy 4k, as Hillerød will converge for the Ocean Drake, which is very useful for that regen for both your mana and your HP.
So it's almost like having a double buff without some of the advantages. You don't have the normal ability cooldown and the burning from it, but it is still very, very good. Just from the, like I said, just the extra sustain that you get.
And Hillerød now, I think they're going to try and set up a Rift Herald vision, and you do have to be careful. Do you think, though, Hillerød have priority for this, as Homai Fox is going to get caught out in that pit? Does he have flash available? He doesn't have flash available, so I don't know if he can escape this. He does use the ultimate. He's used the Fear Beyond Death, which landed on the Draven. They're now going to try to convert. Go Commit will escape. Zakira is able to get out, but the ultimate, the Right of the Arcane from Xerath, does get Homai Fox fairly low. He got one hit onto Tauber as well. They have started Rift Herald, but they're going to have to disengage as Lil Uzi is slightly low. The hero's entrance from Tauber. He will get caught out by the E. Drakes and NZ trying to poke in the back line. They somehow get a kill onto Zakira, but that's after Tauber falls. Chase me please, very low. He's running for his life. Go Commit, he gets a damage off. NZ so low, the Spider Bomb was just not enough to pick up the kill, and that is an ace from Hillerød. Really well played from Hillerød to turn this game around.
That is exactly what they need. They aren't even going to go for the Rift Herald quite yet. A little bit of surprise there. Maybe they're just looking to get the tower first, and then they're going to try and move in that direction. But just really, really great engage there after the hero's entrance that sort of baited the side of Sphinx to try and kill, Tauber, while it seemed to be a little bit overextended. But they seem to have predicted that, and so Hillerød, they had Right to Hunt there in the backline, who was able to engage along with Hold My Fox, which was enough of surprise and enough damage to just turn the fight around for them.
That was another kill onto Go Commit, who now has no bounty on her at all. 8k goal lead for the side of Hillerød, as now in the bot lane we're seeing that NZ getting caught out, uses On the Hunt to try to escape, but at least does have the E, but it's not going to be enough to catch out NZ, who will somehow survive. Meanwhile though, Rift Herald is being taken, and with Elise in the bot lane, I don't think Sphinx have any way of contesting this objective.
Just because, Sphinx, they don't have the team fight. That's what we saw there, is that Hillerød right now, when they are fighting as a 5v5, they're able to win essentially everything. And so, as long as Hillerød just sticks together at this point, they should be able to keep on coming out ahead.
And we did mention before the game that Hillerød have a late game in this, and while they did lose that early game, they didn't completely lose it, but it was a very scrappy early game and quite unlike Hillerød. So now that they are approaching more of a mid to late game, I feel that they're starting to come closer towards their power spikes.
And I mean, I wouldn't say that they lost because they survived enough to make sure that they didn't really feed anybody. The only person that they really fed would have been Go Commit Jungle, who did get pretty good. It was 6-0 at one point. But at that point, when you have a composition like this that is more focused towards this late game, it's more about just not feeding more than sort of winning.
Now Hillerød are going to collapse on the bot lane in a turret. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to defend this. It's quite low. Rift Shelly will be spawned in that bot lane, and they will be trying to go for that inhibitor turret.
But we are seeing a very good response from Sphinx so far. All of them are grouping up now. They won't be able to stop the initial charge from Shelly, and the question is, how much will they be able to stop after?
Lil Uzi has a fair bit of damage in the poke, but we're gonna see the engage. The hero entrance will get the knock up onto Chase Me. Chase Me, Birdie, Zakira are very low. Chase Me will die. He's in zombie sign. Will try to get damage. He's going for Dregs right now. Resonating strike will come through as well. Right to Hunt. So low. The safeguard just about saves him. Right of the Arcane trying to get as much damage off as possible, but it's just going to be 2 kills going over to Hillerød for nothing. As Right to Hunt gets caught out by the Xerath Arcanopod. So at least Sphinx get 1 kill in their trade. However, a victorious fight from Hillerød.
They did such a great job protecting Shelly there, which meant that the whole inhibitor went down and a whole Nexus turret.
Birdie Zakira getting caught out around the red pit. The taunt was available, but NZ will pick up the kill. Hold My Fox has TP'd back into lane as well. So, I just heard who wants some Draven. But Hillerød now are going to try to keep on pushing this as they rotate to the mid lane. And Cloud Drake is available as well.
The Cloud Drake would be fairly useful for Hillerød at this point, being able to reposition around the map a little bit more quickly. At this point, they really want to get either Baron or a Mountain Drake, because those would be what they need to just sort of finish up the map. At this point, all they have to do is take out 2 more objectives, one Nexus Tower and the Nexus itself.
And would you expect to see some split pushing coming from the side of Hillerød? And if the answer to that is yes, are they going to go 1-3-1 or 1-4?
Probably going to be a 1-4, with Hold My Fox being the one to split push, who has been able to 1v1 everyone fairly well and doesn't need a whole lot of support.
However, Hold My Fox does have has a lot of MR, which is understandable considering that he was playing against Lil Uzi on the Xerath and Go Commit was so far ahead, which, I mean, he will be a little bit caught out by the Sion because Sion just has no MR, but now Hillerød will turn onto this Baron.
So, like we said, because their team fight is as good as it is, they should be able to take any fight that does come for this. The Whirling Blades do come in a little bit early to not try and steal. Okay,
the unstoppable onslaught coming through from Sion. It will land onto Hold My Fox. Front lining coming out from the side of Tauber. He burns the stopwatch. Fear Beyond Death will come through. That's a kill that is going to come over onto Hold My Fox. Go Commit jungle is solo. So is Zukira. Chase Me Please trying to do damage on the zombie side, but can't actually do anything. And now Hillerød will try to end. They have 4 members alive. They picked up 2 kills. Right to Hunt. Can he hit the resonating strike? He does. He doesn't get the kill though. Right to Hunt will dash out with the safeguard. Zukira low. Donbag somehow survives, but NZ flashes over the wall and picks up a kill. And Hillerød will look to just end now and take a 2-0 clean sweep.
NZ taking that Nautilus hook was so good. It kept Ride to Hunt alive and made sure that he was able to engage afterwards, and that is going to be the end of today, with Hillerød taking it away at the end.
And we were expecting a Hillerød 2-0, but to be fair, Sphinx put up a great fight in those first 15 minutes.
Right, both games they did seem to get a lot of advantages just from getting first blood in the first game just in the nick of time, and in the second game doing fairly well, just making sure that they were, ahead in kills, but they had a bit too much on Go Commit jungle, which meant that they weren't able to really rely on the rest of their team to do the damage that they needed. And as far as the rest of the game, they just didn't quite have the team fight that they needed to be able to just contest the objectives.
And I feel like Donbag on the Draven for me feels like a champion that's similar to Lucian in the sense that if you're not going to get ahead out of your laning phase, you've messed it up slightly. And even with Go Commit getting that many kills, I feel like she didn't have enough time, or Go Commit didn't have enough time to put resources into that bot lane and use Go Commit's advantage to put a bit of gold onto Donbag.
Yeah, you kind of have to hyper carry or nothing as Draven, and that's part of what makes him feel really good. Is when you do hyper carry, you just become an unstoppable force. But when you don't, it's really easy to deal with you because your movements are so predictable and your damage is so reliant on this external thing.
However, well played from both teams, and well done especially to Hillerød for picking up another 2-0 and securing their playoff spot. What do you make of Tauber with the double Galio?
It worked really well. I mean, the early game, it had some issues. We saw first blood, I believe, yeah, the first death on the side of Hillerød both times was Tauber. So maybe needs to play a little bit less aggressively at the very beginning, but once you start getting a little bit of tankiness on your side, from just different, the items that you get, stuff like redemption giving you, extra health and things like that, you're able then to get on top of people and be the front line that you want from a Galio. Those taunts are incredibly important, and there were some great taunts coming out from Tauber.
So, as we wait for the straw poll to come out, who was your MVP from both teams?
I'm going to let's start with Sphinx, the losing side for today. I'm going to have to say that, I mean, part of me wants to say go commit jungle for doing as well as they did in the second game, but did so poorly in the first game. I cannot hand that over on good conscience. It's going to have to be Don Bach, who managed to do fairly well in the bot lane. It wasn't the bot lane that popped off on Hillerød, so it meant that they had to be doing at least something right, and they got first blood and they got really good fights throughout the laning phase in both games.
I'm gonna have to go with Chase Me, because I feel like playing against NZ on its own is a really hard laning phase, and I feel like he did a good job. I don't think NZ in either game got out ahead from the laning phase alone. Is when we started seeing the team fights. That's when NZ got ahead, and when Chase Me Please started to fall a bit behind. So for me, Chase Me was consistent, and my MVP goes to him, at least for the Sphinx side.
Yeah, but let's do talk about Hillerød now. So NZ and Ride to Hunt did very, very well in both games. I think that they're the ones, and also Tauber did well in all of the games. I'm going to have to give it to Ride the Hunt, who managed to just shut down the jungle so hard in the first game, and also in the second game, having some really good fights. In the later game, a little bit too aggressive in the early game, but I think it's because they knew that they'd be able to play a little bit more aggressively and pick up their slack later, that he did take those more risky fights, and also because they knew that Elise would scale off quite a bit later on.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think Right Hand played really well in game one, and he played decently in game two anyway. Game one, of course, he completely shut down Go Commit, and in this game he still played well. His Lee Sin, some of his plays with the ward jump, the dragon kick, followed by the resonating strike, was just really nice. So I do agree, and I'm going to give my MVP for Hillerød over to Ride the Hunt. Let's see, any final things you'd like to mention before we head into the outro?
Nothing in particular. I think I just, I would like to see more games from Hillerød. I would like them to show up a little bit more, because this was, obviously, they're a very good team. Now that they are secure inside of the playoffs, I do hope that they do show up for their other games. So I think that's the only thing that I have to say.
Yeah, so I'm sure we'll see Hillerød, and it'll probably be a very entertaining playoff run. However, we will go into our usual outro. Guys, if you haven't already, do join us in the Discord group. It's great, got a lot of fun people in it, and you can find some really nice matches and some really lovely people for your 5v5 practices. Also, we have Twitter, we have Facebook, so join us on all of those. The next match will be tomorrow between Chimera and Oracle, so that is going to be one to watch. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and from myself and Litzy, it's goodbye and see you next time.